Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. As mentioned in the daily financial news, Tuesdays are special. We have two experts today, one at 8, one at 9. But boy, we start off hot with the lumberjack landlord. How you doing this morning, Matt?
I'm doing super awesome, Mike. Doing super awesome. Excited to be here. It's already been a busy morning. I closed on a duplex 2 hours ago. So,
Yes.
just another deal. Just another deal.
Well, dude, you got to get me your address so I can send you one of these cards. Hey, your stuff counts, man. I need help. I need to get to this number.
You're doing just fine. Holy cow. 3 or whatever in 4 weeks. Damn.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm getting that check warmed up, ready for the give to that food bank. I'm
That's
ready.
right.
I'm ready. If you get there early, we'll get there early.
Yeah, just so you know, folks, I don't know if I've made this public, but so we announced that I'll be doing three things when we hit 500. One is I will be donating $5,000 to a Fresno food bank, which is a big thing for me because food insecurity was something early in my life. I still remember. I will be dyeing my hair purple. That's why I went blonde. I wanted to kind of test it out, see what this whole thing's about. And then lastly, my mom actually reached out and said that she'll get on camera and do an interview, which is, if you don't know my mom.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're going to have you guys ask questions of mom about me as a youth and teenager. I was out of the house by 19. So realize you're going to get to ask questions before I was 19. Actually, I might've left when I was 18, late 18. Anyways. And then what happened is I announced the $5,000 give and my experts came over the top and said, we want to be a part of this. So you have offered to donate as well. Dion from Dion Talk has offered. Matt, the mortgage guy, has offered.
Awesome.
So what was going to be a $5,000 donations turning into something like 8 or 8,500 if we get to, or I should say, when we get to 500. So the quality of people that come to one rental at a time is amazing. So thank you for your
of course
donation.
Always excited to get behind a good cause.
That's awesome.
And nothing better than being able to help people when they need it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what I want to do here is actually kind of in that lens. I want to rewind the clock to our beginnings, 20 years ago, and talk about the struggles of starting. We had a conversation off air, if you will, or before we hit record. And that's where I want to start, right? Rewind the clock to when you were 20, you just got into software. You had a pretty good first year. Yeah. And, we'll talk about what happened to both of us. So go ahead and paint the picture.
Sure. So, I'd worked kind of odd jobs for a long time. It was right in the midst of the .com run up, right? So 1997. Wow, that was a long time.
Damn, we're old.
Holy crap, am I old? Yeah. So 1997, right, starting where everyone was talking about the Y2K.
Yeah.
The year 2000 and all the banking systems and all that stuff needed to be upgraded because it was 2-digit. It had to go to 4-digit for those of you who don't know what Y2K is.
I remember. Yeah.
But it was this massive technological overhang and just an unbelievable amount of work to be done. And so in tech, all of a sudden, everybody was hiring anybody. You could fog a mirror, you could get a job in tech.
Yeah.
So luckily I fogged a mirror. And so, so I was literally working in a video store, making $5.25 an hour. I was 18 years old. I hadn't turned 19 yet.
Wow.
And the woman helped me work Sundays. And she came in and she's like, I think you could work in this job. She's like, I think you'd be decent at it. And I said, sure. Thank you. I was just flattered that somebody thought that I could do more than just hand somebody a video and charge them $2.99.
Some people right now are going, what does he mean by working at a video store?
Yes, we were a ripoff of Blockbuster.
You guys actually went somewhere to rent videos? What are you doing?
Went somewhere to rent VHS tapes. Yeah, that was my life. And so we did that. So I went in, I interviewed, I didn't get the job because it was for a territory manager. And then they said, hey, listen, we're hiring in the telemarketing department that we're going to launch. And I was like, then they're like, hey, no background required. I didn't even know what software was. Yeah. Like, I didn't know what it was, whatever. Go in, they make me the offer. And Mike, they made me the richest man in the world. I signed my first 1-year contract for $18,500.
Yeah.
For the year.
Oh, nice.
But I got $1 a lead for commission. So guess what?
Yeah, you did a little better than that.
I worked a lot. Yeah. So literally got in and started working my tail off, but kind of fast forward and I worked my way into a rep position because I was always the first one in. I was always the last one out, and I would go in Saturdays too. Wow. Because I could.
Yeah.
And so I just devoted myself to being the best that I could be at that. Always took up mentoring sessions and training sessions, and then get into a sales role. And lo and behold, 7 out of the first 12 months I was in sales, I was the #1 rep.
Wow, that's amazing.
And made at, I was 20 when the year finished. But I made $103,000 my very first year in sales.
That's amazing.
And that was 23 years ago.
So you were it was probably what, 99?
It was 90. Yeah, it was 98. Yeah, 98. Yeah, okay. 1998.
Yeah. So I remember my transition to software sales is pretty amazing. Yeah. That was a fun time to sell software. It's funny. My transition was kind of similar, right? I was a bean counter. I was an accountant right out of school. Then there was some software upgrades. Yeah. Y2K is probably right around 96, 97.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, finances, why don't you come learn this Oracle ERP software?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did that as a consultant, and then worked in that for a year. So I think my pay went from like 25 to 50. It doubled, right? From an accountant to a consultant, doubled. It was amazing. I was like, holy cow, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Yes.
And then about a year into that, we were evaluating software tools, right? Because when you run large ERP projects, you look for automation. A real smart startup came in with some very niche tools that I quickly got and would help. And they said, hey, you kind of understand finance. We have a solution in that area. You get it. Would you like to become a pre-sales agent? I didn't know what that was. Right? Pre-sales? What the hell is pre-sale?
Like, pre-sales? What the heck? Yeah. What happens before the sale?
Yeah. It's like, I don't get it. And then I go talk to them, and lo and behold, the people that were like doing that were computer scientists and, these other, I don't know. They were always smarter than me. Let's just be frank. I was never the smartest pre-sales person. But what I quickly realized is the sale wasn't technology based, right? I had to know this much of the technology. And as long as I could tell the story in business context, I would win. So
that's right.
That's right. As a pre-sales agent for 3 out of the next 4 years, and before I moved to sales, I was the highest earning pre-sales agent. And I was actually the 3rd highest paid person, like 3 out of 4 years. There were 2 sales guys ahead of me, both sales guys that I supported because their plan was more leveraged, right?
Sure, of course.
Right. Yep. But still, to have a pre-sales person beat out every other sales rep except 2, pretty good living.
That's really good. That's a really good living. Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a good living that they changed the comp plan for pre-sales agent after I did it the 2nd year.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, whoa, we're paying this guy way too much.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's how you define how successful of a player you were in the game, is how many times they had to change the comp plan because of you.
Because of you. Yeah, but let's make the transition, right? Because we both came at this a certain way, and at the time, the answer was stocks.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
For us, the answer was, it wasn't real estate, right? Our entrance. I remember going, oh my God, I can turn this 40 grand or whatever it was into something, and it worked for a little while. I mean, anything you touched went up, but I didn't know it at the time, and it felt really good for about 2 years, maybe. Ins and outs, and then the rug got pulled out. So let's talk about I'm assuming it was the same for you. It was really good for a while, and then it wasn't, right?
It was good for a shorter period of time because I started after you.
Okay.
So that kind of, you were 96, 97. I was like 90, 99 was when I finally had some money, and I started putting that in the market.
Yeah.
So you make the money, and my expenses were $250 a month was what my rent was working. I was living with a buddy. We were house hacking.
Yeah.
But it was his hack. So I was $250 a month. I owned my car outright, which was a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Like I was just, so it was,
we didn't know what to do with all the money, right? It's like, it just went into the account. Right. And so the funny thing was, I'm not sure if you were the same, but
I lived my life by that board on the wall. The
Oh.
board where they post everyone's, like, that was my life, was the board.
Oh, it was only the board. I mean, I would
Yeah.
look at the board daily. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm a competitive guy.
Yeah. Every 9 minutes, whether I needed to or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
Yeah.
like, and we would do, like, you know, ringing of bells.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's a lot of fun to live on a live sales floor. That's the
Oh.
thing I think I miss the most in this market, and in kind of how people do things now.
Yeah.
Man, there is like some of these sales departments, like real legit, like enterprise technology sales departments. So often those things are like libraries, because people go into the office to do like office work, and that's where they do their office stuff and have meetings. And so there's not a lot of like live sales chat on the floor a lot of times. That's the thing that I miss the most. But yeah, everybody was, you know, the water cooler talk and the lunch talk was always stocks. It was all about stocks. We were both in technology.
Yep.
And so it came down to, you know, the CMGIs of the world, right?
Oh, yes.
Right. Remember CMGI?
Yeah.
You know, all these companies that were, you know, rocket ship rise, there's no real earnings, but a good story. And these things were worth, you know, 150, 180, 190 bucks a share. ADAP Technologies was another one that was like, you know, 150 bucks a share. And, you know, just all these crazy numbers, like rooster.com is still my famous one.
I remember. Yeah.
You know, all these things just crazy through the roof. My big one that and so it was, you know, to invest in stocks. And so, you know, you'd talk about it, then you'd do your evals and you'd look at it. And thankfully so I didn't get Enron, I didn't get WorldCom, I didn't get Adelphia, but I got ECN Seed, and ECNC was like the first maker of cash pads.
Oh, okay.
That you see by all the registers now.
Yeah.
So they were one of the first makers of those. And, you know, all this news comes out and I buy into the stock, it's $15 and, you know, do my obligatory purchase of stock. And then they come out with a press release saying, hey, this massive retailer is going to standardize on it. So the stock shoots up, you know, $20 in like a few days. And I'm like, hey, I need to take some profit on this. And of course I listened to some colleagues and they're like, what are you, chicken? Like, you serious? Like, this thing's going to, like, this is the first retailer. There's going to be one after another in the next few weeks. And I was like, really? You think so? Yeah, I think so. I was like, oh, okay, then I'll just stick with it.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it. And that's why hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I go to check on my update and the stock had been halted.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, hey, so what's it mean when a stock gets halted?
Is that good or bad?
Yeah. Quick question. Is it halted because there's so much interest in this stock? Yeah, that's not why it gets halted. It gets halted because they are being investigated for fraudulent activity because that statement might not have been the truth. So I spend the next 6 weeks waiting. This stock gets halted for 6 weeks, Mike.
Oh my God.
6 weeks. 6 weeks. This stock gets halted for 6 weeks. I'm sitting there going, well, yeah, like how much could it go down? Like 10%, 20%, 30%. Okay, 30%. I'm still in the money. Like, I'm still in the money. I can get out and I'm not dead. So it opens up and they're like, okay, it's opening up this morning. And so I look at it and it just opened up again that morning. And I'm sitting there and two other guys are by their computers and it opens up at $1.06 from 19 and change.
Yeah, that hurt.
Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, hold on to what he says, Callahan. Hold on to it, he says. It's doing nothing but going to the moon from here, he says. Thanks, Callahan.
Going to the moon.
Lunch. Yeah, we're not having lunch today, jerk. So yeah, I had a much bigger holding than he did. So I watched what did I have? Man, I watched $20,000, I think, turn into $500.
Yeah, and that was a lot for us, right?
That was my first real money.
Yeah.
And we all know how bad an investment a boat is. My boat lost more money. Less money. My boat lost less money. That's the only scenario where a boat loses less is when you're
a boat was a good investment.
Yeah. I was down 95% in the stock, and that's the only thing my boat could beat. You know, it was just I was just like, this is just, and so literally I watched it was them and Cisco. I watched my entire first year savings gone in a day. Yeah. Well, the best part was it was a 6-week bloodletting, but I had no idea what they were going to come out at.
Yeah, of course.
And now $1.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So, again, I've told my story a lot, right? I turned about 7 grand into almost 200. A lot of that was Cisco because I was in a couple of years earlier, right? Just
Sure.
couldn't do any wrong, right? They'd split
Yeah.
every 9 months.
Yeah.
It was
Crazy.
amazing.
Yep,
And
the
then,
good news is I bought it the last split.
oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. So you had dead money for a decade. Wonderful.
Oh, only a decade. Yeah.
Only a decade. Yeah. So then right at the peak, I start to diversify, right? I start hearing these things and I go to utility. I go to Enron. I get Enron.
Oh,
I lose a significant chunk there. And then I remember I was in Europe doing consulting work because again, it's Y2K, right? And I'm a consultant at this point.
Yep.
And I remember thinking I was on the plane because I knew I'd lost it at the airport, San Francisco. I'm about to land. I think I was landing in Paris or maybe London. I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, I was beating myself up the whole flight. And I'm like, and for whatever reason, I didn't go to cash. I just felt I had to be invested, right? I was in my 20s.
Yep.
Right, you got to be fully invested. You got a long time.
Time horizon.
Damn it. So I remember having the thought, like as we're descending, going, okay, what's the safest place? So the first thing I think is AT&T, right? Because AT&T is like, hey, Baby
big
Bell,
conglomerate.
big conglomerate, dividend stock. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do phones because this is before cell phones, right? Before people were cutting the lines.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, okay, I'll do phones. And I remember going, but I'm not going to do AT&T. I'm going to go find the best phone company. So of course,
WorldCom.
I go to WorldCom because of course Bernie Ebbers is buying companies and not doctoring his income statements and financial statements at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And going to jail for the rest of his life or whatever it was.
Pro forma.
Yeah.
Oh, pro forma earnings.
So I go to WorldCom and like it felt like two hours later, but I think it was 2 months later, a month and a half later, they get found out to be a frauds. And I'm like, I just got fucked by Enron. Sorry for the bad language, but it's very painful. I just got messed up by Enron and then WorldCom. I am never going back to the stock market again.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that was not good. So then we find real estate.
Ta-da.
Now we're where we wanted to talk. Real estate. And I remember, right? For me, it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I just found out you've never read that book.
Never read the book.
We've got to fix that. That purple book. Purple book started everything.
Purple
why do you think
black,
things are purple on my thing? It's, it's a shout out to the guy who helped start it.
Nice.
But we get into the business. But I actually treat it a lot like stocks, where I try to do everything on my computer. Right? There was nobody in my family. Right? Yeah. I believe your mom was a real estate agent, when you were young. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I had nobody. My mom and dad owned their home. They bought when they came out of the military. But I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. I want to talk about that struggle for both of us.
Yeah, I was a kid, single mom. And so we were 9, 10, and 11, mom wouldn't leave us home alone. And so it was me and my sister, and we would pack in the car. And that's what we would do for showings on Saturday showings. When you're a real estate agent, you're showing at nights and weekends because it's when people are home and available from work. And so a lot of times we were in the car with her. We were crammed in the front seat. I would sit in that middle seat between my mom and whoever the client was. And that was a lot of fun. I was much smaller then. So I could fit in that spot.
Self-reflection is good.
Yeah. I was like, now I sit in that front seat and I'm still kind of broad shouldered and kind of big. And so it's kind of like, I don't really fit anywhere now except for the front seat. So we did that. And that was every, a lot of Saturdays, a lot of Sunday afternoons, kind of after church. So it was a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it was tough. And then finally we were old enough to stay home. But when we, kind of fast forward 8 or 9 years, made all that money, lost all my, first year savings and essentially everything in the market, in the .com bubble and in the liar, pants on fire stock times. When that just, and the thing is, Mike, the reason why it hurt so badly was because we did everything right. It was proper evaluation of the vendor. It was proper evaluation of their balance sheet. It was proper evaluation of their sales and everything that they were saying. Mm-hmm. We were being trustworthy, and just what they published were like, there's a penalty to pay if they're not right here. So you really come away with it being duped because you invested based, they knew what they were doing. You invested based on what the numbers were.
Yeah.
And so, I was, that whole thing had happened. And then I was had saved up my next, nugget amount of money. And I just started understanding. I had a friend of mine, excuse me, who had bought a property, fixed it up with his wife. And he's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And I was like, that's really cool. And like, I'm halfway decent with my hands, obviously grew up, with a real estate mom.
Mhm.
And so I said something to her about it. And she's like, yeah, I'm not really sure you want to do that. And then sadly, probably less than a year later, she tragically passed away.
Oh,
But it was one of those things where it was like, a lot of times we returned to somewhat of what we know. And so I just looked at it and said, I don't want to do the stock market because it can be up and gone.
mhm.
There's real opportunity to build wealth in real estate. And that's pretty much all I knew. That was
it.
really all, that was it. There was
Yeah.
no YouTube then.
No.
That was pretty much it. There were no books on it. Heck no, there were no books on it.
No.
And so it was really just trying to, at that point, I mean, I'm a 23-year-old kid. 23-year-old kid reaching out to agents and asking questions,
Yeah.
and most of them wouldn't take my call, but some did, and they've been rewarded as such.
There you go. Yeah, those struggles at the beginning. So yeah, I must be 6 or 7 years older than you, right? Because my journey starts at 30, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I felt like such an idiot being ripped off twice. I'm like, how can this be? I'm an accountant, so I read their financials. I freaking read them. Like I had the full-on Warren Buffett, multiple balance sheets, income statements, tick and tying the numbers.
Yeah.
Freaking fraud. I'll never play in that casino again. But yeah, it led me to real estate. And all I knew is I want one.
Yeah.
That was my big dream.
Yep.
I want one rental. And then I got one, and then two, and hence one rental at a time. But yeah, those first 4 or 5 years, no mentorship, just trying to lean forward, go as fast as I can. Yep. That's really what, visiting those first 4 or 5 years is why I created the online course, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time, because I want to be that place. And then because now with Facebook, right, we have a very private Facebook group that is just us. Yeah. So those are things that I'm very proud to be a part of now. We almost have 1,000 people in the private Facebook group, over 2,000 students. So
it's awesome.
I'm so glad that it's there. And thank you for being a part of the course.
Of course.
And it's funny to go back and relive that time, because I think we're about to have some people relive our early struggles, right? The stock market is going to have an adjustment. So
it definitely is. I mean, and Mike, for people that with that course, I mean, oh my goodness, what I would have paid for that course. It would have saved me a $20,000 mistake. Yeah. In the market. It would have saved me my first building. I bought a single family, and then house hacked that, bought a condo, house hacked that. Yeah. And then got into a multifamily, and I absolutely lost a bloody fortune on that first multifamily. I bought if you could find the exact day that the market was at its peak, I can tell you what day it was, because I bought that day. Yeah,
I closed on that day.
I bought that day. That exact day, I bought a triplex that exact day when the market was at the very, very, very top. And so, and then the rest is history. Ironically, it was kind of funny because I held onto that building as long as I possibly could, because I said, I will not sell it for less than what I bought it for. It took I bought that in 2005. It took me until 2018 to be able to sell that asset and not be selling it for less than what I bought it for. Wow. It took that long. It took 13, over 13 years.
Just curious, if you would have held it to this year, would you be ahead?
Oh, I'd be so far ahead. I'd be so far ahead. The thing for me is we moved in the process, and as you know, kind of our rule is not more than 30 minutes away. That house was about an hour and 15 minutes away.
There you go.
But quite frankly, if I had a great team there, I probably would have kept it. The only reason I didn't was because I couldn't build a good team there. Yeah. I could not build a good team. We were just in and out of property managers and brokers, and it was just I would have sold it too.
I mean, at some point, I look at my portfolio once every year or two. And actually, I just sold one of our triplexes. It's funny, it's a triplex that just never performed.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we bought it in 10, so we made a lot of money. But it was okay. But it's just where it was. We have a lot of units, and it was easily 40% of my headaches. One property. It's like that one is going away.
That's exact. I mean, I found out this morning that I bought that from the guy. The one that I closed on this morning was that guy's 25% of his headaches.
Yeah, it's like,
And I listened to them and I was like, okay, well, we'll see if we can turn it around. I mean, the thing is we bought it right enough because he was really ready to be done.
Mhm.
And honestly, that's a big thing too. Find a landlord when you're sending out letters, make sure they're personal, make sure they're handwritten. Don't send these crappy form letters that are typed out saying, "Dear owner." I throw it out. Not even, no, why?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
So
not getting my time.
huge,
Yeah.
but it was exactly. It was just so selling that property in 13 years after I bought it, got a little bit more than what we paid for it, but we had 13 years of
Ugh.
money paid against that mortgage.
Yeah, slogging away. Yep.
Yeah. So thankfully, even that slog got us a nice little nugget,
Yeah.
but we took that number and we turned it into 2 more duplexes local.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
now it's something I can actually smile upon.
There you go. Well, we're going to cut this one off. And topic number 2, folks, we're going to repeat a conversation Greg Dickerson and I had yesterday, because I want Matt's opinion about what financial freedom is. It hard or easy? So there's a little tease for video number 2. How can people find you, Matt?
Lumberjacklandlord.com and Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube. And if you have the courage or just tired of your muckety muck life, buy the course and actually do this thing. Honestly, Mike, you didn't know I was going to do that. Sorry.
No, I didn't know. Yeah, get to work,
honestly,
man. Get to work.
Start doing work. Like that channel, real quickly. That channel that you did the response video on, I found that channel. What a bunch of crap. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that there are people literally paying that guy to fill them full of that garbage. Yeah. At the end of the day, you make a decision on how you're going to invest your time. And let's not be confused. Your time is worth something. And so you're investing that as an asset. Yeah. If you invest that on people tickling your ears and telling you how great everything is and how horrible it is and you'll never make it, it's great. Be on this side, be with us. It's horrible and everyone's against you. You know what? Waste your time with that. Invest your time in something that's going to give you a return on that time, which is an investment that you invest your time and your money in, you get a return on that capital. I promise you 10 years from now, if you listen to that channel with 1 million subscribers, you'll still be miserable and having accomplished and done nothing. You will do nothing. You will accomplish nothing and you will have very little money in your bank account. That's a guarantee. I
find it so odd. He's got 1 million followers. He is preaching negativity. The world is ending. Don't do anything. And lo and behold, people don't realize that guy's probably making $100,000 a month off negativity.
Yeah.
He's a total capitalist.
Yeah. If the world is really over, we all lose everything.
Yeah.
If it's really over, we all lose everything anyway. But you know what you can't take away, Mike, is you can't take away. And this is the thing that I've invested so much of my life in, my ABL. Always be learning.
Always be learning.
You can't take that knowledge away from me. You can't. So if I lose everything, I will still end up in a better position because
absolutely.
You know how many, the average millionaire, goes broke twice.
Yeah.
The average multimillionaire goes broke twice. Yeah. So if you've gone broke 0 times and you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands that you accrued because of your rental properties, you're well far ahead of a lot of millionaires out there. Yeah. They lose it twice on average. So yeah, I can't take that people don't invest their time in a better fashion other than just listening to the garbage and negativity and even paying to listen to it with those Patreon accounts and listening to this guy just dribble and swill. Just horrible.
Toxic. Yeah, that's all right. Sorry. Very cool. Well, we will move on to topic number 2. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.